Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. Before we get into today's episode, I do want to invite you to our How to Be a Podcast Guest event. So sign up for our webinar at thenurseSharkAcademy.biz. Today's episode is how one nurse healed herself while helping others to heal. And today's guest is Amy Tostenson.
Well, I'm going to be honest and straightforward with you. I feel our healthcare system is very broken. It's ran by insurance companies, big pharmaceutical companies, and it's a business. I feel like it's a business more than anything anymore. It's hard to even advocate for my patients. I just feel like I'm not giving the full service that I'm capable and able to give at bedside in traditional nursing. I don't want to feel like I'm representing that system anymore because I feel like it's broken. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't push that on other people. And I don't, modern medicine is a good thing for sure, for certain things. But I feel like a lot of times there ends up being Band-Aid fixes or, medications that are pushed when other things could have maybe been done maybe previously to help prevent some of these things or, things like that. Stress management alone would reduce heart attacks, high blood pressure, all of that, and, instead of trying to do that, what are they doing?
Tired of feeling trapped in a job that no longer fulfills you? Is your nursing job no longer the fun-filled adventure you imagined? Find your passion again through nurse entrepreneurship. Step out into the light and come feel the sun. Join the Nurse Shark Academy today at thenurseSharkAcademy.biz and come feel the sun. Hello and welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We encourage them to come and tell their stories. Today's guest is Amy Tostenson. And Amy's been a nurse for 20 plus years. She's a life coach who specializes in any trauma healing and maintaining recovery from any addictions. And she's the owner of Rise of the Phoenix Coach since November of 2025. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. It's my pleasure.
I'm so glad you're here. And I like to ask this because I really want to know, our listeners want to know, what made you become a nurse?
Well, I wasn't encouraged to go to college or do anything right out of high school. Mm-hmm. And so I had a job working as a teller in the banking industry. And I didn't feel satisfied. I was teller supervisor, worked my way up to teller to teller supervisor. Then I got into loan operations, and it was just very unfulfilling. I just didn't like it. It was very unsatisfying. And so I wanted to do something different, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So back then, it's going to age me a little bit, in 1999, I looked in the newspaper and found an ad for an aide position, a nursing assistant position. And I applied and I got it. Had no idea. I had ideas of what I was getting myself into, but not really. And I fell in love with it. The caregiving and the helping people. I've always been a bit of a caregiver, helping people. And then I was encouraged, to continue. And so I got my med aid, and then I worked as a med aide for a few years while I worked through nursing school. I didn't go to nursing school until I was about 25, 26, I think. So, yeah.
So I have to say, that's, I didn't go to nursing school. I started as a CNA too, but I
Yeah.
didn't go to nursing school right away. And so when I went to school, the university had what they called, for certain classes, because you've already had a degree or you were a certain age, you got this special rate to go back to school. And so they called it the old geezer rate.
Oh, that's
so,
funny.
so having had a degree, when I went, got out of high school, went right to college, got a degree, decided not to work in that field, and then went back as an old geezer. It was quite a different experience. I was getting
Yeah.
married and all these life changes all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, most of the people in my program were not your traditional college students right out of high school. It was a part-time program geared for, people working with families and things. So honestly, I think all of us were your non-traditional students. So that made it a little bit more comfortable because there were people around my age, people a little older, even some that were quite a bit older. So that was not uncomfortable for me at all. It helped actually, probably. Yeah.
So, you mentioned that you were working in, it sounds like long term care.
Mhm.
Did you stay in long term care for most of your nursing career?
I did long-term care and I did skilled side in the nursing setting as well, as far as, you have your long-term care where they're there to live. And then your skilled side is typically where they're there to do rehab with
Mm-hmm.
physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. And I worked both modalities, but I prefer the long-term care because I like building the relationships and then you can really get to know them a little bit better. And I just feel like I can make more of a difference in that sense. I did also I worked for 7 years in hospice. I worked in the field for a little bit. And then the last, I want to say about 6 years, I was the admissions coordinator for the hospice, two different hospice companies. Um, and I liked that, but I missed patient care. I was the one who, when we would get a referral, I would manage the referral, get everything lined up and prepared for the assessment and admission and all of that. And it would assign nurses and social workers to go out and do all that kind of stuff. So I liked the work. I had a lot of contact over the phone and things like that, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. So yeah, so I did end up going back. While I'm building my business, though, I am back in long-term care,
Okay.
working real part-time still while I build my business. Yes.
Okay. And so let's talk about that, because I think a lot of nurses think that, once they decide to start a business, that they're just
Mhm.
going to just jump in there with both feet and they're going to quit their
Right.
day job and go into, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And
Yeah.
kind of walk us through the decision of how you came to that, to decide to keep a part-time job.
Yeah. Well, fortunately enough, my bills are low enough that I can afford to work part-time. My living arrangements are very nice as far as I'm not having a lot of bills. I was a huge victim of identity theft a few years ago and ended up having to file bankruptcy over it because a lot of the creditors were trying to fight that I had made a lot of these charges that I hadn't. And so after time, contacting an attorney and everything, they basically recommended I file bankruptcy, which was the last thing I wanted to do. But I ended up doing it um, because there were things that I didn't make the police report as soon as I should have and different things like that. And so a lot of the creditors were trying to come after me for these, like $80,000 worth of bills
Oh
that I
my.
did not. No, 60,000. It was about 60,000 and credit bills that I did not make the purchases on. By the time I realized everything, that it was happening. It was very overwhelming. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise because now my living expenses are very low. I have a roommate, you know, very simple living, and I make it work with, the bills that I have. I can work part time and focus on the business. I do have a couple paying clients right now. And so, um, it's looking up. It's looking up. So,
Well, I'm going to say I'm kind of, I don't know how long ago this was that this happened for you, but I'm kind of taken aback by the response from your attorneys to just, oh, we'll just file for bankruptcy.
I know. I
Um,
know.
there are some companies out there, and I'm gonna I'm gonna tell our listeners in case
Yeah.
anybody out there has a similar story.
Yeah. Identity
Um,
theft is so big.
and full disclosure, I am an agent of this company. I'm going to put a link in there because I want people to know that there's identity theft protection out there,
Mhm.
and there's legal protection that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to get. And I'm a person that was so glad I had my plan because we also had a similar thing,
Yeah.
not quite to your extreme, but um, because we had the plan. And I'm going to
Yeah.
give you my story. During the pandemic, in the beginning of the pandemic, everybody's getting PPP loans, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think this is how this started. A story came out about our business in the local newspaper,
Hmm.
and somebody must have seen it because they tried to get a
Hmm.
PPP loan in my husband's name and in our business. And so my husband was at home. He was on the phone, and a ping came up on the app, and it said, this loan or whatever, whatever. And he goes, "Did you apply for a loan out of Texas?" No. I said, "We don't qualify for a PPP loan." I said, "We
Yeah.
don't have the right type of business for that because
Yeah.
it was just two of us, right? We don't
Hmm.
have employees." And so I said, "Well," I said, "No, I didn't." I said, "Let me take a look at it." And so I looked through our app and I saw where they had done this. And I immediately called them, reported the fraud. We signed the power of attorney so they can go in. They got the private investigators involved. And within about 30 days or so,
Yeah.
they had it resolved completely, sent me the letter and everything. But here's the thing, the person put the application in like on the 15th.
Hmm.
On the 16th, we were notified. That day we called and they got it stopped right there.
Nice.
Never
Nice.
was completely done.
Yeah, I did not have this was a few years back. I did not have any kind of identity protection at the time. I sure do now. I sure do now. Yeah, I just didn't realize, handwork help, it's one of those things where you just think it's not going to happen to me, and that's how I thought. That was some of my
Mhm.
old thinking that was not good, basically. And so yeah, cuz by they had opened accounts online through credit card companies that I had would open a checking account, put what I had available on this credit card into the checking account, and then just withdraw it and not even have purchase trails.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they were pretty smart in how they did it. But yeah, I don't know how they verified my identity. Um,
Well, here's the other thing that
yeah,
we're talking about identity self protection, just because I want to share this for our listeners. We have to worry about our nursing licenses as well.
mhm,
So I was able to put
yeah,
my nursing license on there so it could be monitored as well
yeah,
because
yeah.
there's
I
so
put
many
mine on mine
people.
as well.
Yeah, there are so many people that are out there
Mhm.
that will take your credentials, have a name that's similar to yours, and will perpetrate being a nurse.
Yeah.
And you have to protect yourself. There's so many stories about nurse imposters today.
Hmm.
And so I'm glad it worked out for you because, again, for you, it might have been a blessing in disguise because
Yeah, I know, but that's
you
not going to be the case for everybody.
it's,
That's
no, it's not
definitely
going to
not
be the case
the
for
case.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
So, okay. So,
So,
so again, if what I'm going to say for our listeners, I'll put it in the show note. I'll put it in a comment or something like that. If you want to know more about it, you can always reach out to me to the show. And I do this because of our experience with
Mhm.
the having to ask questions, legal questions, and things like that, and not having anybody to talk to. So this is why I do this, and then so I want to share that with people and everybody. This is you should know I am a legal nurse consultant and work with a bunch of attorneys, right? But
Yeah.
I don't want to have to give them a call and have to pay a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I,
Yes.
it should work the other way around. They should be paying
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
So so you're working in long term care. You work for a hospice. What made you decide to transition then from working at the bedside full time to becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, I'm going to be honest and straightforward with you. I feel our healthcare system is very broken. Um, it's ran by insurance companies, big pharmaceutical companies, and it's a business. I feel like it's a business more than anything anymore. It's hard to even advocate for my patients. Um, I just feel like I'm not giving the full service that I'm capable and able to give at bedside in traditional nursing. I don't want to feel like I'm representing that system anymore because I feel like it's broken.
Mhm.
And that's my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't push that on other people, and I don't, modern medicine is a good thing for sure for certain things. But I feel like a lot of times there ends up being band-aid fixes or, medications that are pushed um, when other things could have maybe been done maybe previously to help prevent some of these things or, um, things like that. Stress management alone, alone would reduce heart attacks, high
Yes.
blood pressure, all of that, and instead of trying to do that, what are they doing? They're going to give you a blood pressure medicine, you know.
I, I think in our culture, particularly in Western culture, there's that go, 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 right?
Mm-hmm. The
Always be on.
convenience. Yep.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we have smartphones and things like that, we're always accessible.
Yes.
You
Mm-hmm.
can never get away from it. And I
Yeah,
think that's a big problem.
I
Uh,
agree.
it used to be you go, you work your job, you go home, you get, you spend time with your family, you eat your dinner, maybe
Mm-hmm.
go take in a show and do that. Now you don't have that luxury because you may go home after you've worked extra hours, but they
Yeah.
could pick you up, call you, send you emails all day long, and so
Mm-hmm.
there has to be that balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
we miss some of that in what we're doing and how we're approaching modern day healthcare.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Having that work-life balance is so important. Balance in all areas of your life. To be really be able to be well-rounded, having balance in all areas of your life is extremely important. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So, what made you choose, and how did you get into the life coaching?
Well, I've thought about it for years, honestly, because of my background. And, I came from a very traumatic background myself. This is why I chose Rise of the Phoenix Coach as my business name because I have my own Phoenix Rising story, where I rose from the ashes. I came from a very traumatic childhood. Um, and that carried into my adulthood and led to different addictions at different times. Within the dysfunction of my family, I went to therapy, but it was just a very dysfunctional environment that I grew up in. Yeah. So different addictions at different times. And, I did eventually, through a lot of different means, end up doing some really good and necessary healing myself.
Hmm.
And in healing a lot of the trauma issues, I have a history of PTSD and complex CPTSD because it was basically my entire childhood. It wasn't just a single event. And it was during the years that, I was growing into the person that I'm becoming. And so through my healing, just everything that I've been through, I feel like it's for one thing, I'm passionate about it. Another thing, I feel like it's a part of my purpose, that I had gone through these things. I was able to overcome them and come out ahead. I went from being in living in survival mode my whole life, constantly in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and then able to move on and thrive now. Uh, I had to do a lot of nervous system regulation work, and I think I had been to therapy off and on most of my life, and I think a lot of times in doing your traditional talk therapy, unless you're ready and at that point to where you can do that, if your body has healed it to a point, it's okay to do that. But I think in some extent, you're re traumatizing yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Through that talk therapy, you end up re traumatizing yourself. Because I know that's what I did, looking back and reflecting, I did that time and time again. And, so there's somatics that are involved. There's so much involved. And I'm very passionate about lifting the shame and having a voice and being able to be authentically myself. Um, I like to write. I love to write. I write on Substack, and I plan to publish an autobiography. Um, and I'm passionate about telling my story, not because I want pity or anything, but because I want to offer hope and inspiration to other people who are going through troubled times, to know that healing is possible, recovery and maintaining recovery is possible, and not just possible, but you can do it and live a fulfilling life and have inner peace. That was it was the weirdest thing for me at first, because I didn't know how to just sit and be. I lived with such high functioning anxiety my whole life that I had no inner peace. And once I got that inner peace, it I won't trade it for the world, you know. But inner peace and love, and being able to love myself for one thing, but just to be able to experience joy and true happiness.
Well, one of the things I tell some of my patients, because a lot of them have suffered some sort of trauma and they have a lot of anxiety, and I said, "You're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Mm-hmm.
You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop."
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, "No more shoes.
Right.
No
Right.
more shoes. We're gonna throw the shoes out, right?
Right.
We're gonna stay
Yeah.
in the moment. No more shoes. We're not gonna project ourselves into the future and catastrophize everything.
Right.
We're gonna stay here
In
and
the
be
present.
mindful in the present,
Yeah.
and we're not looking for any shoes."
Yes. Yes. I love mindfulness activities. I always say, stay where your hands are, because your hands are right here in your presence. Stay where your hands are.
Yep.
That's one that I use a lot, in trying to stay in the present. Yeah, because we can dwell on the past, and then I think 90% of the things we worry about happening in the future are stories we make up in our head and never even end up happening.
Right.
It's pretty high up there. I think it's between 80 and 90% of the things we worry about don't even end up happening. So it's like we're stressing ourselves out.
Our
So.
our body again is always in that fight or
Mhm.
flight when we're in that repeated cycle of,
Mhm.
oh, things are going well for me. Well, something bad's going to happen because things are going well for me,
Mhm.
right? And we have to really focus in on doing something to keep us there, keep us right there in the present. And one of the things I help, some of my patients do, and we talk about this, is doing the gratitude journal.
Yes.
Um, I said, I don't care what it is. Write down one thing you're grateful for today.
Mhm.
Just one thing every day.
Yes.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
I don't make it hard. I make it easy.
That
Just one
was
thing.
yeah. That was
Hmm.
one of the things that kind of started it for me was I would write down a few things I was grateful every day, and I tried to make them not always the same thing every day. And having that attitude of gratitude, just kind of slowly then doing it over time, kind of change your perspective on things.
Yes.
And yes, that is huge. Gratitude, I'm big on. Mindfulness activities, meditation has been huge for me. Being able to just be
Hmm.
and, not constantly have to have the noise around, the phone and the TV and everything, but to be able to just sit and be. Um, I'm real big on Tai Chi.
Hmm.
It's a form of martial arts that kind of
Yes.
incorporates all of that, the mindfulness, the somatics, the intentional movement, with breath work. Breath work is huge too. Um, those are a lot of the things that kind of helped me to just, with the dysregulation of the nervous system. And so yeah, it's helped me tremendously with that. But And then
Eh,
your mindset, the
yes.
gratitude is a lot about the mindset, just waiting for the shoe to drop. I love that analogy. And that's exactly it is
Mhm.
something's going good. And in my case, I was so bad. If something was going good, I would almost find a way to self-sabotage.
Yes. We talk about
Mhm.
that. Forgetting the self saboteur
Mhm.
and just I always tell people, I said, let's change your vibrational energy,
Yes.
right? So we
Mhm.
talk about your that energy, and I show them through the power of music because that's something everybody can relate to, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Of how you can change your mood, how you can self regulate. You don't have to
Mhm.
be at the mercy of your hormones or,
Yes.
the environment around you. You can affect the environment yourself. And
Mhm.
so we do this. I did the exercise with a group of women at a conference. And
Mhm.
I started with something very low vibrational energy, like the theme from Star Wars for Darth Vader and the Empire,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. uh,
Okay.
Move them through that, then through a sad song about, losing your
Mhm.
mom, that kind of stuff, that kind of
Mhm.
melancholy. So by the time we get done, this is, by the way, on a Saturday morning right before lunch. By the time we get done, I had them up dancing and laughing, right?
Oh, yay!
Because
I
we
love that.
shifted so they can feel what it's
Mhm.
like to shift their own energy.
Mhm.
And I gave them the story that I had when I was talking with someone, and I was having a great day. It was very positive, and I had a conversation with someone in a meeting, and my energy just fell through the floor, like
Yeah.
plummeted. And I'm like, "Whoa, what happened?" Because then the self doubt started to come in, and I'm like, "What's happening?" And I realized it was that conversation with that person. It was another coach who we were just meeting to network, right, just to get to know
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah.
And she immediately starts telling me, well, I tell my clients this and you're doing everything wrong. And at our next session, I'll help you. And I'm like,
Ooh.
okay. And so
Wow.
when I realized what had happened, I went ahead and just canceled that session. I just told her, we're not, thank you
Well,
for
good
your
for you.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I am not allowing that negative energy
Mhm.
into my field. But
Yeah.
it took me a while to get there because
You have
before I
to
would have been all
yeah.
in there. I would have been, yeah, I would have been
Mhm.
imposter syndrome, the
Setting
whole nine.
boundaries is so important, and you have to set your own boundaries for your
Yes.
own energies to help you stay above that. It's the
Hmm.
gratitude line. Stay above the line instead of below.
Exactly.
With all the negative emotions and feelings and thoughts.
And that's why I say it's come feel the sun, right?
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
the feeling I want you
Oh.
to have, that you're out there. You know how you have a great day. The sun is
Mhm.
feeling wonderful. There's a slight breeze. Everything's right with the world. You take a deep breath. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I want our entrepreneurs to feel, right?
Yeah,
Because you're
yeah.
seeing it
Nature
there. Yeah.
nature has a very healing modality to it as well.
Hmm.
I love to ground outside. I love to walk barefoot in the grass.
Hmm.
That's one thing you can do to ground with nature. And just being out in the sun and without all the sunscreen.
Right.
I mean, if I'm going to be out there for hours, that's one thing, but you know, enjoy it without the sunscreen a little bit. It's good. The
And
sunshine is good for you.
the sunshine is good for you. Get that vitamin D,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. The
And
natural
so,
vitamin D is the best.
what did you do to get trained as a life coach? Maybe some of our listeners are thinking about that as a career. How
Yeah.
did you get trained? Where did you go?
Yeah. So I honestly, that's kind of a funny story. I was thinking about transitioning into, I was enrolled and to take classes at Bellevue University
Hmm.
to get my bachelor's in behavioral science. And I started thinking about it and I'm like, why do I want to do that? Because I mean, I am more passionate about mental health, but why would I want to do that? Because the system is just as sick. They want to push pills.
Hmm.
And everybody has to have a diagnosis and everything is a disorder,
Right.
which I hate. And so I thought, why, and was scrolling on Facebook one evening and I had been looking at different certifications for life coaching. And I saw an ad for a nurse life coach. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I got my certification through the Nurse Life Coach Academy. Um, yeah, it was about a 7-month program. It was very hands-on. I loved it. I learned so much. Um, it was a great experience. We did a lot of peer coaching where we coached each other for
Hmm.
practice,
Hmm.
and then we had to have so many practicum hours to complete our certification as well. So it was a great experience. I'm so glad I found that. I found it like the night before the cutoff day was to register. So yeah, I hurried up and made that Clarity phone call and talked to him, and I was like, yeah. And then I got out of the program that I was enrolled for, the behavioral science program, just in time too before I would owe any money back. So to the student loans.
Right. Well, you know what, and that's important because sometimes we start somewhere, and maybe that's the first step on our journey, but we may take a detour. There may
Yeah.
be an off ramp. There may be
Mhm.
something new that catches our eye, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I never thought I would be a legal nurse consultant, and certainly never thought that I would help other people start their own businesses. But here I am.
Yeah.
You just take the skills that you have, and the next thing you know, you're marketable. And as nurses, we are so valuable in the
Hmm.
marketplace.
Yes. Yes. And that's one thing I really loved about the nurse life coaching program is you have the nursing background, the
Mhm.
healthcare background. It's not just, the life coaching, so we know a little bit about the anatomy and the chemicals in the brain and all of that kind of good stuff that, contributes to a lot of what we're working on with mindset and different things like that when you're talking about dopamine and serotonin and, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yes,
Um, I think it's my higher power looking after me. It threw it in my face, said, Amy, let's help you make a better decision.
exactly. And then so now you're where you want to be.
Yeah.
And so tell me, so you're in Nebraska, but
Mhm.
you can work with anyone in the U.S.
Yeah, I
Yeah. Okay.
virtual. Their Zoom. I just switched to Google Meets that I'm
Hmm.
really loving. And so yeah, meeting virtually primarily. Um, I do work remotely, with my business. So I'm, I can see local people if they either want me to come to their home or if they want to meet in public somewhere where we would have a little bit of privacy, which can be kind of hard to find sometimes. So most of the time we do virtual.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would say maybe reserving a room at your public library for an hour.
Yeah. Yep. And I've even met, like, I know a Starbucks at certain times of the day, it's not real busy in there. So I
Mhm.
have met pro bono clients in there when I was doing my practicum hours because they really liked and wanted to do it in person over Zoom. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
so there are ways to get around it, and the weather is going to get nicer if somebody wants to, sit in a park or something, or
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of parks in the area. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
options.
And then one day, when you get busy enough, if you need to, you can always get a co-working space.
Yeah,
Rent,
definitely.
rent
Yeah.
an office for an hour or two. Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's
I
so
just
many.
learned about that. I
Yeah.
went to a cutting ceremony um, at a local event here for someone that I met through networking, and that's what he has but he's actually renting a full office. So he has
Right.
but it's a small little space.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a co-sharing where they have areas where it's just by the hour or maybe just for the day if you need a day to be away from home to get some things done, or however you want to work it. So yeah, I just kind of learned about that.
Yeah, and what I like about those, they can be very flexible. So
Hmm.
one of the organizations that I'm with is in one of those spaces, and the benefit is we get access to the larger areas, the boardroom when we need
Hmm.
it. They have a full podcasting studio and all that stuff if they ever wanted to
Nice.
do that. So it's a really nice area to be in,
Hmm.
and there's the gym and the YMCA is right next door. So there's just a lot of perks
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
free coffee. Free
Yeah,
coffee.
it sounds like it.
You can't
Free
beat that.
coffee, can't beat that.
Yeah. Okay. So how would if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you to talk with you?
Well, the easiest probably would be to either text me or call my work number, the 402-616-2258
Okay.
is my business line. And then also I am on WhatsApp as well, which is, I know some people kind of worry about texting and maybe putting too much information out there. And it's a more secure way to message people. And it's the same phone number on my WhatsApp, the
Okay.
402-616-2258. Yeah, so
Okay.
those are probably the easiest ways to get a hold of me. Also my email is amy at riseofthephoenixcoach.com.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So I will put all of that and your social media links in our show notes.
Okay. Yep. And because I'm on Substack, Facebook, LinkedIn, Alignable, I've got quite a few of them listed.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
so you also have a gift for our listeners. You said the first session, if they could book with you, is always free,
Uh huh.
and that you have some discounted packages right now and 50% off your Substack subscription. So it's $4 a month or $40 a year.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So
Yeah.
I will also put that in the show notes. And so I'm
Okay.
looking here. You did say that you have a podcast that
Hmm.
is aired on YouTube and Spotify. Can you tell us what your podcast is?
Rise of the Phoenix Coach. I just brand new have started this, so I've only done one episode. And the first few episodes are going to be primarily me talking about my story more in depth and a little bit about my healing, things that I've done, things that have really helped me. Um, and then after that, I'm going to have guests, and my guests will, my first guest, I'll go ahead and say he's was a mentor of mine about a year ago, and he was someone who helped encourage me to go for it, do the business, do the life coaching thing, write your book. Why not? He helped to build my confidence up again,
Oh,
because
that's wonderful.
I had been thinking about this for a while, but just thinking, I was kind of stalled on the thinking about it. And I actually met him on LinkedIn, and his whole brand is the dirty truth. How
Okay.
everybody has a dirty truth, and that it's not anything that needs to be shameful of. If anything, it can be your greatest asset, like with me, where I can take what I have learned and how I've grown and help other people. I think that's one of the greatest gifts, is to be able to be of service and help other people you know
Most definitely. That's what I love what I do as a nurse, what I love as do as a podcaster and
yeah.
everything else that I do. I love the idea that I can be of service to other people.
Yeah.
So, our last question, as our time is starting to wrap up, if you had a piece of advice for a budding entrepreneur, what would it be?
Mhm. To go for it. Do it. You'll come across bumps and things along the way, but don't let it just get you discouraged. Learn from it and move on and keep going. I'm not the most tech savvy, so I've learned a lot myself in my own entrepreneurship, and but it's a good thing. You know, I'm very much I'm almost 50 years old, and I'm probably more into learning now than I've ever been. And I want to learn about anything and everything I can. I'm constantly reading and trying to stay up to date with AI and all the different tools that are available now. It's a
Yes.
lot. If and I wasn't real familiar with a lot of it to start with. So yeah, just find your passion. Find something you're good at that you're passionate about and go for it, because that's what it takes to make it work.
Well, I happen to agree. Sometimes we get into that cycle of thinking about getting started, and we thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it, never actually do it.
Right.
And I like the idea of just be like Nike, just do it.
Just do it. Go after
Just
it.
do it.
Go after your
Just
dreams. Yes.
go after your dreams.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Amy, for coming on and sharing
Yeah.
with us. This has been a great interview and a great topic. Again, if you're interested in talking with Amy further, her links will be in the show notes, and I'll put in her phone number because she gave us permission to call her there, and her email. Please reach out to her and take advantage of the sessions that are available to you. This has been the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I want to thank you for listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when our episodes come out. If you're listening to us on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts, also leave us a like and a comment. We so greatly appreciate it. Give us a follow because that really helps our channel. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Nurses, are you ready to break free from the grind and build something of your own? It's time to take your skills beyond the bedside and step into entrepreneurship. Join our webinar, Break Free, the Nurse's Path to Entrepreneurship, where you'll learn how to shift your mindset, explore your nurse-owned business ideas, and get the exact steps to launch your own business. This is your time to take control of your career and create a future you love. Seats are limited, so grab yours now. Break free and join the Nurse Shark Academy at thenurseSharkAcademy.biz. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy Show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the NurseSharkAcademy.biz.